to Reaching the Summit. We're joined today by South Dakota Coyotes head coach Kayla Karius. Coach, thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You guys are 8-5 in the conference this year. Quite a few games that were close, under 3 minutes, and then kind of stretched out and went one way or the other. You're kind of rebuilding. You have 9 underclassmen, and you're coming off a pretty injury-laden season from last year. How are you kind of keeping the morale and the mindset positive as you go through some of these challenges, playing for a fan base that historically expects a lot out of this program?
Yeah, they definitely do, which is a really good thing to have when you have great tradition and you've had so many winning seasons. You love that your fans expect a lot out of you. So we'll go back to last year, like you talked about. It was a year of total adversity, and it felt like every week we were experiencing something new and something different. We already felt like we were going to be in rebuild mode after the Sweet 16 team and losing all 5 starters and really only returning Grace Larkins, who played significant minutes. And then along the way had 5 season-ending injuries. It was like nothing I had been a part of before for many coaching staff. So it was unfortunate. And you obviously, first and foremost, feel really bad for those players who lost out on time in their seasons for their college careers. But I even think that our culture was starting to take shape last year. And we talked so much about adversity and so much about overcoming circumstances as best as possible. And that's really where a lot of the resiliency, I think, of this year has stemmed from, because it was just so much of a conversation that we would have last year. And was so proud of that team to finish 4th in the league after everything that we went through, and to stick with it, to go on the last road trip of the year and get 2 big wins. Certainly nobody ends the season they want to end at the way that they want to end it. In the Summit League tournament, we got bumped out first round, and that was so disappointing, but I was so proud of that group for sticking together, and they showed more resiliency than a lot of teams that I had been a part of. So I think going into this offseason, we added a few extra pieces, especially to put around Grace Larkins, who had a great year last year, but just felt like teams could really focus on her, and there weren't enough scoring threats or maybe enough experience around her to really take the attention off of her and to be a more balanced team. So we were excited to do that with 2 additions from the transfer portal, and then of course a bunch of freshmen, and you have to mix that all together really fast. And we started to do that already this summer. It's been such a fun season. I feel like at this time of year, especially, everybody's fighting for one more win or for a better seed or to set yourself up in the Summit League tournament better. And everyone wants the ultimate goal and to get to the NCAA tournament. But I think you've got to stay really fresh too. You've got to stay really positive. And I feel like give huge credit to our coaching staff overall, especially the way that they've been on road trips and traveling without me, that they've kept that morale really high. And we're really excited now about the home stretch here.
Absolutely. To talk about Grace Larkins, you mentioned her. She's 9th in the league in scoring and 4th in rebounding, and still just a junior. And I can't remember which game it was specifically, but early in conference play, in a post-game presser, in a game that did not go well, she basically told everyone, that wasn't us. We're going to do better. You'll never see that again. So can you just talk a little bit about like her leadership and how she leads this team?
Well, that's just the piece that I've seen grow tremendously over the time that I've been here, just under 2 years now. I wish everybody could have experienced the first conversation that I would have had with her the spring of then her freshman year when I first got the job, and then to have a conversation with her now. She's just a changed person. She's as a lot of kids go through at this time in their lives, but maturing and can handle conversations much better, and just now is not only about I'm going to get Grace Larkins ready to play. It's I've got to get the rest of this team ready to play. And her leadership has just skyrocketed. And it means a lot to a coaching staff when your hardest worker is also your best player. And I feel like we have that in her. She comes ready to go every day. She leads the way. She's not a very vocal leader. She will when she has to, but honestly, for the most part, she's more lead by example, and she'll set the tone, and you've got to follow along suit. There's been a couple of post-game pressers where she's been really disappointed and not afraid to show it, because she just is that competitive, and gets really disappointed when the team doesn't show up, and herself too. She's really hard on herself. And so I think that leadership has really carried us quite far this year. I'm really proud of her for that.
Absolutely. I want to talk also about Natalie Mazurek and Tori DePerry. Neither one of them are leading scorers per se, but I would argue there's multiple games that would not have been won without them. So can you just talk a little bit about the value that they bring to your lineup?
Yeah, I'm glad you talk about them because I think that there's always those players on teams that maybe don't show up always in the box score. Those two are definitely two of them. Tori DePerry was our one of our transfer portal pickups. She's a fifth-year senior, played for 4 years at Saginaw Valley State in Michigan, which is a Division II school, but was an all-league kid there, was averaging a double-double her senior year. We really felt like we needed the depth in the 4 spot to be more athletic, we needed another rebounder. We needed somebody who could guard multiple positions. That's always nice to have. And Tori really fit all of those so well. So we were excited to add her. And wow, what a difference when you bring in a fifth-year senior versus when you bring in a freshman, because she stepped right into practice, even though it's her first practice at USD, stepped right into practice, knew how to work hard, didn't know every drill, but was just busting her tail all the time, was communicating, was figuring it out on the fly. And it's a different maturity level when you're recruiting a 22-year-old versus when you're recruiting or bringing in an 18-year-old. So really fun to have her. She's just shown such explosiveness on the offensive end, mostly in driving and cutting really hard and finishing putbacks. Defensive end, she's guarding multiple spots. She's rebounding the ball well. Her numbers haven't been explosive in the conference season. In the non-conference, she was just fairly untouchable for a little while there. And I think some teams have adjusted as they always do in conference play, but she's still helping us from the toughness factor tremendously. And I can't say enough about Natalie Mazurek. This was a player that tore her ACL in the Summit League tournament. So in 2022, and then really missed out on the whole next season. She was cleared to come back with a few games left, but was like, I just really want to bank that year and use it in the future. And as hard as that was, because we were down so many bodies, just knew that was the best thing for our program in the future. And wow, we have seen her come alive in this conference play. I mean, she's averaging now about 9 points and 6 rebounds. And to come off the bench and bring that, she started a couple of games, but outside threat, shooting the ball so well from the 3-point line. Anytime you have a 6'2" post body who can do it all, finish inside, score from the outside, she becomes a matchup nightmare. So fun to have her back. And after being out for so long with an injury, I think it says a lot about her mindset and her toughness that she came back this year, and she's helping us tremendously.
Yeah, for sure. I have to ask about the TDP play to beat St. Thomas as time expired. Was that drawn up? Did we call it an audible? Like, did they just happen to see she was open? Like, what even happened there?
What happened there? Yeah, well, it came down to the possession before. We had to get the stop. It was a tie game, and we had to get the stop first, and then we knew we were going to call a timeout and advance it as soon as we had possession of it off of a hoping it wasn't a score. But by the time we corralled it finally and called a timeout, it said 0.4 seconds. Of course, they take a little bit more time. They've got to go review it. And I know fans love that part of it. It takes a little bit longer than you want it to, but they never ended up adding any more time. And we thought this has to be a quick catch and shoot. We've practiced something similar to it before. I feel like we practiced quite a few situations. It's always more comforting when you can look at your team and say, oh, we're going to run this. And they already know what you're talking about, at least somewhat. We had enough time, certainly, to draw it up. I'll pass the board on that one. I'll give a lot of credit to Mike Jewett, who is our assistant coach, first year with us here this year, but has plenty of experience in the league and has been a college coach for over 25 years. He handed him the board, and he drew up the quick lob play for Tori DePerry. It honestly came down to Grace Larkins actually setting the back screen for her, and it's tough for teams. I don't think you're really going to leave Grace at a moment like that, and they didn't. And then there was Tori at the rim, and Alexi Hempy threw the perfect pass for her to be able to catch and shoot it all within 0.4 seconds somehow. Tori didn't score. She had one free throw earlier in the game. That was it. That was her only field goal of the game. And again, just what a fun culture and what a fun atmosphere to be able to say, you're the right woman for the job. So step up, get ready. Your athleticism is what we need right now. And even though you haven't seen it go through the net all game long, it's your time to shine. And I think every player deserves a moment like that. It was very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I was pretty high on St. Thomas at the time because they had beat ORU in essentially the same situation 2 days prior, like less than 48 hours. So I was like, oh, we're doing this again. And then I saw Tori open at the rim, and I was like, this is, oh my God, like I cannot believe this is happening. So yeah, that was
the
super
highs
fun.
and lows. Yeah, highs and lows of this game. It can make your day and it can send you home on a fun bus ride and it can also break your heart and it just depends. So that's why we love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to say, I feel like that comment is foreshadowing for Sioux Falls. Everyone thinks they know what's going to happen. I told so many people about Kansas City last year. Not that I thought they were going to hit a buzzer beater and make it to the semifinal, but I was like, Kansas City's coming. And nobody believed me. And then I was like, I literally told you. So Sioux Falls is always so much fun.
Oh, it's a blast. You never
Um,
know what's going to happen.
yeah. So I realized, speaking of Sioux Falls, actually, good segue. Um, I realized that this may not be the most important thing to you, but I like implications. I like to look ahead. So I have to ask, if you guys want to get ahead of ORU and secure the 3 seed, you have to go 3-0 this weekend, which includes beating ORU on the road. Hefty road trip. You also have Fargo coming up before you're back at home, and also adjusting to Coach Jewett in game situations. He's obviously only been the acting head coach on road trips for, I think this is his second road trip maybe. So how are you kind of putting all of that together, preparing for Sioux Falls at the same time and staying kind of focused on the mission? What are you focusing on this weekend?
Yeah, well, I know you guys love to look at implications. That's not really something that we focus on. There also seems to be just still so many different scenarios that could happen, and the way the league has been this year, I realize some records don't look as appealing as some other records, but if you actually dig in and look at those teams, they're in so many games, and it comes. We found out last week that if you don't show up to play against them, then you're not going to easily come away with a win. Those teams are still playing really hard. So I think the way the league that has been this year, it's going to come down to the last game of the regular season before anything is really truly decided. And I do know, of course, you hear different scenarios and people talk to you about them, but it's not something we approach with our team. It is so much about the one game that's right in front of you. I think as soon as you do that, it gets really dangerous because you put almost too much on some of these players, and it's just too much to handle. It's just really focusing on one game plan and one at a time. Regardless, we're going to find ourselves in Sioux Falls with another matchup, and we're going to have to go and win 3 games in 3 or 4 days, regardless. And so, how do we do? That's how we approach it with our group. We realize this is a tough road trip. I mean, this weekend alone, we've got Oral Roberts tomorrow, and then to turn around and go up to Fargo next week and return home. But it's a quick turnaround and have senior night against UND, who once again, it maybe doesn't have the record that they want, but are competing in a lot of games, and wasn't an easy game for us up there either. So it's a fun way to play. You've got to be ready to go every single night, and we take one at a time. We take it as it comes.
Absolutely. I love to hear it. Last question, best question, most important question. My co-host Jordan, who is a USD guy, would like to know if there are going to be cute little coyotes in the wall of the baby room. If you're going with a different animal, how are you planning to decorate?
Are there cute little coyotes? I thought coyotes were like ferocious and mean and
I think so too.
intense.
I'm sure you could make them cute though.
Well, we didn't choose coyotes for that reason. It just doesn't seem very innocent and baby-like, especially for a little girl. That's what we're expecting. So we are going with elephants in the baby's room, and a lot more pink than what we're used to. We have a 4-year-old boy at home. We have a 2-year-old boy who's in heaven, actually. And so this is our 3rd child. First time with a girl, though. And man, the pink is exploding in our house as we get ready for this. So it'll be a new adventure for all of us.
Well, good luck with that. We hope for a healthy baby and everything to go smoothly. The Yotes will be in Tulsa tomorrow, Fargo next Thursday, back home on Saturday, March 2nd. You can catch them all on Midcoast Sports. Coach, thanks so much again for being here, and hopefully we'll see you in Sioux Falls.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Madison. Always love being a part of the show.
Thank you.